Welcome in to Chicago Bears Now by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham, your host, as always, here on this channel. We've got some Bears news and rumors post-NFL Draft Edition to break down and to get into on today's show. So let's go ahead and jump on in. The Velus Jones pick certainly caught a lot of attention during the NFL Draft, and some draft analysts didn't love the value in the third round. You know who did? Todd McShay of ESPN. He was one that actually really liked it. He liked it so much, he thought it was the Bears' best draft pick. Several analysts had Jones as a fourth round or a fifth round grade in this draft. The Bears, of course, took him 71st overall in the third round. And I'll be honest, when it first happened, I was a little caught off guard. He wasn't on my radar in round 3. But the more I read, the more you heard, you listened to Ryan Poles say that, hey, me and Justin Fields watched tape on a lot of players, and he was one of the players that caught our attention, the more I've started to like it. Here's what Todd McShay had to say on Velus Jones Jr. Quote, he's still refining his route running, but look at his speed and contact balance. He's a threat anytime the ball is in his hands, with instincts and elusiveness in the open field and the breakaway speed to take the top off a defense. Jones 4.3 140, ranked fourth among all participants at the combine and second among receivers, and he's built like a running back. McShay continued by saying Chicago can get the ball in his hands on quick slants, let him pick up extra yards. They can target him on deep shots. They can get him involved on sweeps, and they can use him in the return game where he averaged 24.4 yards per kickoff and 15.1 yards per punt return during his college career. This pick is really growing on me the more I read about it and the more I hear talk about this player. I feel stupid for not having him on my radar before. I thought he was just kind of some deep day 3 sleeper type, but that was not the case. What I really liked was him stepping up as a receiver this past year at Tennessee. He's been a good return man his entire career, but this past year he put it all together as a receiver. Still learning, still improving as a route runner, but 13 yards a catch, over 800 yards, 7 touchdowns as a receiver. He showed enough promise in that area that I think this is going to be more than a special teams player for the Chicago Bears, and that's why this pick is absolutely growing on me. Are you excited for Velus Jones Jr.? If you are, type Y for yes. If you're not, if you think it was a bad pick, type in for no. You're entitled to your opinion, as I am as well. Could you have maybe gotten him in the 4th? Yes. Hey, maybe, but also Bears didn't have a 4th-round pick, so they decided to take a player they really liked in round number 3. Y for yes or in for no. So you look at the depth chart now, and I've updated it with UDFAs and so forth, and I'm going to plug him in as wide receiver 3. Darnell Mooney, Byron Pringle, Velus Jones Jr., Equinemius St. Brown. We'll see what Daz Newsome, David Moore, Isaiah Coulter, some of these other guys, these UDFAs, if they factor in at all as well. Could he be a poor man's Deebo Samuel? And before you jump on my neck saying, don't compare him to Deebo, I'm not. You know who did mention his name? Ryan Poles. Now, Ryan Poles didn't set the expectation that Velus Jones will be the next Deebo. He more meant stylistically. They'll bring him out of the backfield. Jet sweeps, toss plays, quick passes, deep shots. Deebo does a little bit of everything for San Francisco. I think they want to utilize him in that way in this offense, plus have him be their returner as well, where he excelled both at Tennessee and at the University of Southern Cal before that as well, where he was all Pac-12 as a returner before transferring to USC. 2 career kickoff returns for touchdowns, excellent average. No punt return touchdowns, but over 15 yards a punt return is an outrageous number. I think at worst he's going to be an excellent return man from day one, but I think it's pretty clear the Bears have a plan for Jones. When they studied this guy, they said, okay, if we get him, this is how we're going to use him. He'll be our returner. We'll use him out of the backfield. We'll throw quick passes to him. He'll run some go balls for us as well. I think the Bears have a plan in place for this kid, and as long as they utilize him to his strengths, I think he's going to be an impact player from day one. Now, make sure you guys are following us on the Call-In app. We partnered up with Call-In about a week ago, had our first live show during the NFL Draft. If you're watching live on YouTube, we're doing our second live show right after this episode. If you're watching later tonight, that already happened, but you can go back and listen to the recorded episode. That's what's cool about Call-In. Twitter Spaces episode disappears after you're live. Call-In, we can republish it as a podcast. Your chance to call in. It's Twitter Spaces on crack. You hop in the caller queue. I answer your questions, and we keep it moving. There's a live chat feature as well. We plan on going live every single week. So subscribe right now, chatsports.com/BearsCallin. That's chatsports.com/BearsCallin, where you guys can literally call in to me during our live shows. All right, Nate Herbig Have you heard of him? If not, I'll tell you about him, as the Eagles are set to release him. Could the Bears put out a claim for the guard? He started in 17 games over the past 2 seasons. Now, the Bears are 7th in the waiver claim order, and this came in last night that the Eagles are expected to release him as we go live. That has not officially happened. He has not officially hit waivers yet, to my knowledge. But if that goes through, could the Bears get him off waivers? I think they'd have a decent chance being 7th in the waiver claim order there. He's played pretty well when he's been called upon for Philadelphia. Last year only started 5 games, but graded out pretty well according to Pro Football Focus. 2 years ago, started 12 games. He has experience at both right guard and at left guard. Obviously, the Bears have a need at right guard. You look at 2020 on the left side of your screen, 894 snaps and 12 starts. Overall grade for PFF, 71.2. That's above average on their system. Pass and run block above average, 72 and 69. Gave up 4 sacks, which is a little high of a number. You'd like that to be a little bit better. 2021 in 5, I think it was 5 starts. Gave up 1 sack. The grades were slightly lower, but still in that average to above average range. He's a brawler at 334 pounds. Now, Ryan Poles has spoken consistently about wanting to bring in guys that are light on their feet. I don't know if Herbig is that guy, but the Eagles did pull a lot in their running game on offense, and he seemed to hold his own in that regard. And let's be honest, can the Bears be picky at this point at guard? They don't have a starting right guard. We'll take a look at the depth chart in just a moment. Before we do that, though, the road to 50,000 subscribers is underway. We crossed 47,000 over the weekend thanks to all of you. We're less than 2,900 subscribers from hitting 50,000. That is a monumental milestone on YouTube, and you guys have all been a part of it, so I can't thank you guys enough. And if you haven't subscribed already, I would encourage you to do so, because we publish daily Bears news and rumors videos. We have weekly live streams as well. Be a part of the movement. If you love the Bears, this is the channel for you, youtube.com/BearsNow. You look at that depth chart as we talk about Nate Herbig as a possibility on the waiver wire. Guys, Dakota Dozier, you don't want him starting. You know, can any of these rookies that you drafted on day 3 start? Could a Zach Thomas be a guard? Could a Braxton Jones kick inside? Do you pick up a tackle, kick Borum inside? Maybe. J. Tyler Carter, I think, has a chance to develop. I don't know if he's ready, though. I don't want Sam Mustipher over there. You need a right guard, period. Like, the Bears need at least one starting offensive lineman more than what they have right now. You could argue, too, because I'm not convinced Larry Borum is a starting left tackle right now. Maybe he is. Maybe the Bears feel like he can hold up there, but I would feel a lot better if they upgraded at left tackle or right guard, especially right guard, because I do not like their options at that position at this point in time. So should the Bears sign Herbig? Type S for sign, type P for pass. Let me know what you guys think on this one down in the comments. Obviously, it would just be claiming him, and his cap hit, I think, is just over $2 million, so that would not be that much money. Does Robert Griffin III, RG3, want to be a backup quarterback for the Chicago Bears? Well, just before today's live show, he hopped on Rich Eisen Show and had this to say, quote, "Going to Chicago with Justin Fields to try and help as much as I possibly can in that quarterback room would be a great situation." Now, RG3 recently ran a 4.46 in the 40-yard dash, has been training, wants to get back into the NFL, actually did a pretty good job when he was Baltimore's backup a couple of years ago behind Lamar Jackson after he had been out of the league for a bit. Last year, he stepped away, was a college football broadcaster, but he wants back in. And look, stylistically, and just with the battles RG3 went through early in his career, I think he could be a good voice, but he'd be QB3 in my opinion, and that's behind Trevor Siemian, who you paid, 2 years, $4.5 million or whatever it was to be the backup. So I don't think this is likely, but I thought I would include it since he flat out came out publicly and said, hey, I would love to be a Chicago Bear. So what do you think? Should the Bears go out and sign Robert Griffin III? Type 1 for yes, type 0 for no. Probably not, but maybe you bring him into training camp. I think you could do a lot worse. I mean, hell, Ryan Willis is the number 3 quarterback right now, and I don't think Ryan Willis is going to help a guy like Justin Fields at this point in his career. So type 1 for yes, type 0 for no. Should the Bears sign Robert Griffin III? Here's to see where you guys stack up on this one. All right, some Bears front office news, and then we'll call it a day here on our Bears news and rumors segment. Ryan Poles has started to make changes to the front office. He's parted ways with Mark Sadowski, Chris Prescott, and Bobby Machado. Post-draft changes were expected because, for those who don't know, like assistant coaches on the Matt Nagy staff, their contracts align with Nagy. So once Nagy was out, they were all fired. However, scouts, front office guys, a lot of those contracts run through the draft, and they usually help the new regime continue to scout players for that draft. So shout out to Sadowski and those guys for sticking around and being professionals. They probably knew they were going to be without a job. Chris Emma had this note first that those three guys are gone. So Director of College Scouting and Sadowski, he's gone. National Scout Chris Prescott is gone. And Scouting Coordinator Bobby Machado is gone as well. Changes are coming. That's commonplace after the draft, as Ryan Poles is doing. Aaron Wilson later reported this, that the Bears have named Jeff King and Trey Kozel as co-directors of player personnel. So Ryan Poles already had some guys in mind, and now King and Kozel are a part of this staff. And like I said, this is how things work. These contracts run through the draft. It's very commonplace when a new GM gets in place that some of the guys from the last staff stick around. It's the classy thing to do. They help scout for the next regime. And, hey, it helps those guys get a job down the road because Ryan Poles will put in a good word for them. So Ryan Poles reshaping his front office as we advance to the next stage of the offseason, which, of course, Rookie Minicamp coming up May 6th through the 8th later this week. Do you trust Ryan Poles? Type T for trust, type D for don't. I like what I see so far. He's patient. He doesn't force the issue by overpaying free agents or anything like that. Type T for trust or type D for don't. Reminder for you guys to subscribe on Callin. We're going to have weekly live shows over there, and we're going to schedule those in advance. So subscribe. Once you subscribe, if you see that a room is scheduled, that's what it's called, a room, hit the notification bell, and it'll remind you on your device when we go live. Chatsports.com/BearsCallin. Join in on the fun. I'm excited to enter this new platform on a weekly basis.